Hello and welcome to the Music Maker's Cookbook. My name is Sean. I am the host of this podcast. And today it's a solo dolo episode. Brandon is unfortunately not here. Um, it was a holiday weekend last week with Thanksgiving, so we were both off with our families and didn't really have time to get together and record an episode. So today, in order to get an episode out this week, it is just going to be me. Hopefully stick around and hopefully enjoy this episode. Next week he'll be back. But last week we talked about things we were grateful for in the music industry. Very uplifting episode. Today I'm going to kind of slow it down, calm it down a little bit, and get kind of a little real about music and all that. First of all, I want to say it's going to be a little bit low energy today. I'm currently sick. You can probably hear it with my how I'm more nasally and all that right now. But if you can bear with me, I'll cut out all the sniffles, at least most of them. And yeah, let's dig into it. Let's dive in. And what I want to talk about today is, making a living in the music industry. Making a living in the music industry is an incredibly hard thing to do. Being relevant for a long time, being relevant at all, getting people to find you, that's one problem. That's one hard thing to it. Making an income from it, something that is sustainable. The music industry was not built by musicians. It was built by business people to take advantage of musicians. So it's very hard to make enough money on it, and doing it for the right reasons for a long time, having it be not only sustainable but fulfilling to you as a person to make you want to keep doing it week after week, day after day, hour after hour, even, it can be very tough. And those three things are the three reasons why I think most people make music. And I've talked about this in a past episode, but today I want to dive in a little bit deeper, get a little more in depth with it. So in my brain, the way I've categorized the reason why people make music are the three things for monetary reasons, for therapy reasons, and for vanity reasons. I'm going to dive into vanity first. I just want to start off by saying I'm not using that as a negative context at all. More so just in the terminology of, you want people's eyes on you. You want the attention. You want to be seen. You want to be felt as important. You want to be understood by people, and seen and put on a pedestal and looked at and acknowledged. Even just acknowledgement can be an incredibly powerful thing for a lot of musicians when they don't feel like they're being heard. That's the whole thing about music. It's sound, it's noise, it's being heard. So vanity is a very impactful and powerful reason to make music, to want to be seen. And honestly, you have to have that to a degree, because if you want to make a living in music, it's very time consuming and hard to do behind a computer, behind your instrument. You have to go out there and perform. Live is a huge benefit and boon to growing your career. So having a little bit of vanity goes a long, long, long way. So that could be something that you love. We all say we love music, doing what we love. Some people love the spotlight. They love it when the lights dim down, all the focus is on them. When everyone else is quiet and just listening to what you have to say. It's such a important feeling. It can be, you know how powerful it can be. If you're listening to this podcast and you've gotten this far, you know how important and powerful it can be. And that's why a lot of musicians I know that I've worked with, like, it's very important when they have like a release show or a show in general for the audience to be quiet, to listen. Like, a venue that has an attentive audience matters a lot to the musicians that play there. So that's the first of the three. And the second of the three I want to cover is monetary, is money. People want to make music for money. With all these tools coming out there, AI tools, generation, things like that, it can be quote unquote easier than ever to make money with music. And I've heard some uh, interviews and things with other artists and people saying that, oh, they're just making music for the money, and it's a huge driving factor, and maybe it is, because when you do break it big, when you do get that next level, it can be very lucrative. You can make a lot of money from it, and there are some genres that do have formulas that once you learn how to work a system and make a hit, you can keep making hits. Um, but that takes time, and that takes investment in front of it. And it's great when you get paid for music. It's very, once again, as I said, for Vanity, it's rewarding to say, oh, there's value in what I'm doing. People are paying me for it, and that can be very self-fulfilling and motivate you to go out and do more. When you sell a shirt, you sell a CD, you sell vinyl, whatever it is, to get money from your music. And I said, like, doing it to make it big, if you get there, it's very high. And whether that's your one and only motivator, or there's other ones, like whether that's good enough for you, that's not for me to say. Like, that's for you to say whether it's the right reason or the wrong reason. But money is a big motivator, and with how the world is right now, with how expensive a lot of things are, it can be very unmotivational when you put your heart and soul into something and there's really not a monetary return on it, especially with how predatory this industry can be sometimes, where it's like, give me money and we'll put you on this radio station, or give me money and I'll put you on this playlist, and give me money and we'll make you a star. It's like, there's so many things out there that are trying to take advantage of artists, of the dream of being a full-time musician. So that's the way they take one of those three things and warp it. It can be used as a negative, but that's the monetary reason. And time to dive into the last one, I think, is the reason why, in my observation, most musicians go to music, and it's therapy. It's not because they want to make the music, it's because they need to make the music. I've been listening to this podcast recently called The Happier Home Studio, hosted by Chris Graham. He was a podcast host of a podcast called The Six Figure Home Studio, but now he's on and doing his own solo thing. And his whole thing is about being healthier, living a healthier life, mentally, physically, all that stuff, and how that translates to the studio environment and making music and producing music and all that. And from his experience, he talked about something that really got me thinking, and it was how he had a lot of traumatic stuff happen to him as a kid, and music was his escape. Music was his therapy, and when he really dove into it and gave himself to the music, he started to get good at it. To escape, he would put hours and hours into the guitar and into music production and all that, and he started to get really good at it. So good, in fact, that it just made sense for him to take the next step and make it his career. He has become a very successful mastering engineer. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, yes, it's great utilizing a skill you've earned to make money, but it all starts from a place of escape, of therapy, of negativity, getting away from trauma in his case. And if that's like the root of it, it can be a negative motivational factor. We have an episode where we talked about dirty fuel, and I think that's definitely a dirty fuel, a dirty motivator. And they can work for a short time, but after a while, you stop being able to run on that. And I was just, based on his story, I was thinking, like, man, okay, I know a lot of artists who start making music because they have to, because there's bad things that happen to them, or emotional things that happen to them that they need to get out, but they can't get out in any other way than music. It's the only way that they feel like it's safe to express these emotions, and that it's getting heard and not looked like judged or discarded by people when they hear it. It's a validational thing. I know a lot of musicians who sing their thoughts, sing their emotions, and sing their trauma, In fact, I know plenty of artists who, when they perform, they mentally go back into that state and put themselves there so that they can give a more authentic and more powerful performance. And while yes, that could be very impactful, very powerful, because you can hear and you can sense that, damn, the song matters, some of these lyrics matter. Going back and putting yourself in a negative place time after time after time can take a really large toll. And there are plenty of stories of musicians who have done that, who have put themselves mentally in a place time after time after time, and it comes out in sometimes the worst ways. Examples I think of are like Justin Furstenfeld at Blue October. I've gone to a lot of his open book tours when I don't know if he still does them, but I've been to like 4 of them when he did. I got a poster on the wall, that's why I'm looking that direction if you're watching the video podcast. And he talked about how it was just diving into his emotion, getting out there, and just living and fully going into these negative emotions can put you in a certain mindset, like a victim mindset, or are in a emotional state of loss, of grief, of no escape, or it can lead to turmoil. Like if you keep going back to the negative, eventually it's going to be harder and harder to get out of it. And then moving on from it, delving and ruminating in something isn't growing past it. And this is a topic that is very heavy to talk about in a podcast episode. You're not going to find answers here, but just again and again with musicians, it's something that happens, you know? And especially when you have crowds cheering for it after you sing about these negative experiences, it can be very weird disconnect. It can be very empowering because you're like, man, all these people have had a similar experience to me. I'm not alone. But it can also be a very, very weird disconnect. I don't know the specific interview. If you know what I'm about to refer with Kurt Cobain, let me know in the comments. But Kurt Cobain once said that it's very weird singing about something that's so personal, something that's so sad to you, it's so impactful to you, and then when you're done, you have thousands of people cheering for it. And that's something I've never experienced myself because my instrument is the board. I'm an engineer. I'm not an artist that performs. And my music, I don't perform. I do it more so to learn tips and tricks, and I play with my own music with production ideas. But a lot of the songs, my songs, are very emotional, are very self-reflective, depressing, sad. My artist name is Painfully Glad. It's about sad lyrics superimposed with happy sounding instrumentals. But while I can understand that disconnect, that how that would feel, I'm very curious about it. And does it make it easier or harder to turn it into a career? And does it make it something that you love into something that you don't love anymore? So yeah, those are the 3 reasons people make music, in my opinion. If there's a 4th reason, if there's a reason you make music, that's not one of those 3, maybe we'll add it to the list of 3. If one of these reasons is the strongest one for you, that motivates you, I'd be curious to know. And then share me a link to your music so I can listen to it and keep in mind, like, oh, well, this is the driving force behind this kind of music. It's really curious, you know? And I think a healthy thing is to have a balance of all 3 to motivate you. And you can let one take the forefront every now and then and rotate between them to motivate you in different seasons of your life. But those are definitely the ones that make the most sense to me as motivators. But also as the flip side of it, things that can take advantage of, or the things that have a negative side of it. So once again, going back to the healthier home studio, like mental health is very important. We're going into this the winter. It's December. This is the first episode of December. Seasonal depression is a thing. Something that every winter is very hard for me. So if it's hard for you as well as a music, get help. We always recommend therapy here on the Newsmakers Cookbook. So, but I just wanted to be real today, talk about things I've been thinking about. And as I said, I'm probably, a lot of this episode probably doesn't make sense. As I said, I'm sick. I slept for fucking 36 hours yesterday. So this could be ramblings of a madman, but hopefully it was helpful for you. And this is a conversation that would be very interested in diving more into. I'd like to hear your opinion of this kind of stuff. So, yeah, with that being said, thank you for listening. I want to make this really short. On the outro, I'm not going to do a bunch of plugs, like all that kind of stuff. Listen to any of our other episodes for the plugs, but for now, just leave us a like, a rating, a review, share us with a friend. Helps us grow. And from our kitchen to yours, bon appetit.